Hey y'all, this is Shane Messer. Welcome back to Daily Music Theory, and today we're continuing our talk on pitch. Today we're going to look at the piano keyboard, and I've actually drawn one here for you, and I'm going to play the notes that we talked about on mine, but I've drawn one out here for you so I can get closer and kind of show you some things. First off with the piano, it has a full-size piano has 88 keys, which is kind of intimidating at first, but know that there's actually only 12 notes on the piano and 12 notes in our Western tuning system that you have to know. So really there's not that many, and the piano's it's actually in cycles that repeats. If you look at this right here, you'll notice there's two black keys and then three black keys, and in between we have two black keys and you have these two white keys here, then you have three black keys and you have two white keys and you have two black keys. So it's two black keys, three black keys, two, three, two, three, and that's basically how the piano is laid out. And before every two black keys, that note's always C. Before every three black keys, that note is always F. Yeah. And basically, in music, we have whole steps and half steps. Basically, a whole step, or sort of half step. A half step's when there is no key in between the two notes. So if you take the notes E and F here, there is no key in between E and F. That is a half step. E and F, it's a half step. If you take the notes C and D right here, there's a black key in between them. Between C and D, so it's a whole step. Since there's a key in between them, that's a whole step. And whole steps and half steps are fundamental in music, especially when we get here later into intervals and when we get into scale building. It's very fundamental. But basically, you're probably wondering at this point what those black keys are. And those are our sharps and flats, and a sharp basically looks like a hashtag symbol, flat looks like this fancy B symbol right here. A sharp basically just means you raise a note by a half step, so a C sharp, this is C, this is a C sharp. Now a flat lowers the note by a half step, so this is a D, then C sharp is also D flat, right? So this note here, that is C sharp, but it's also D flat. And this note here, since it's a half step above D and a half step below E, it is D sharp or E flat. And so of course when we get to E and F, there's no black key in between them. So if you ever see an E sharp, it's actually an F, and if you ever see an F flat, it's actually an E, since there's no black key in between. And since an F flat, since it's going a half step lower, it would be an E. Same with C and B. B sharp would be a C, C flat would be a B. But that's very rare. You won't see that too much, but it is out there for certain reasons that we'll get to later on. This black key here is in, my marker kind of went out here, I'm sorry. That's an F sharp or G flat because it's a half step above F, but it's a half step below G. This note's G sharp A flat, this note's A sharp B flat. And these notes, if you take C sharp D flat, that's called those are called enharmonics. And enharmonics, basically, it's the same note, different name, basically, on the keyboard. C sharp D flat, same note. Now, you should know that in our older tuning system, this current tuning system is called the equal temperament system. It was invented by Johann Sebastian Bach, and he proved it on the Well-Tempered Clavier, a series of compositions he wrote, where he wrote basically a piece in the key of C sharp and the key of D flat, and it sounded the same. Before that, the older tuning system, just tuning, it was a more natural tuning system, but it actually meant that C sharp and D flat were different notes. But for us now, C sharp and D flat are the same note. And basically it just, he wanted something that worked better for what he was doing compositionally, and for that divided notes equally, basically, and that always guaranteed that that pitch is the same pitch no matter where it's at on the piano. And that's basically, he divided the notes equally, like I was saying. He divided them into 12 equal half steps, and that's basically our tuning system. So that's where he had C, C sharp or D flat, D, D sharp or E flat, E, F, F sharp, G flat, G, G sharp, A flat, A sharp, B flat, B, C. And like I said, the musical alphabet repeats, so when we get to C, I know in the last video I used A, and I said when you get to A you repeat G, but that's because I was comparing it to our English alphabet. But you can start at any note and repeat at any note really on the keyboard and in music. And so when I get to another C, so I start at this C and I go up trub notes to this C, it sounds the same, right? Just higher or lower. So that's called an octave. An octave is basically double the ratio or half the ratio. If I go half, then double. Those are octaves. It sounds the same. It's the strongest interval. An interval is just the distance between two notes. We'll get into that in a later video in more depth. But yeah, that's basically it for tuning. But do know that even today, like I was talking about, if we take the note C sharp, D flat, an orchestra could actually differentiate between the key of C sharp, D flat by shading the note slightly out of tune. So they could shade it slightly. The terms sharp and flat are also sometimes used to talk about when someone's out of tune. So if you're singing slightly sharp, if I'm going for this note, I'm trying to go slightly sharp without hitting the next note, but if you're singing sharp, you're singing slightly above the note, slightly out of tune, above the pitch you're trying to sing. And if you're singing flat, I'm singing slightly below the pitch I'm trying to sing. They're both out of tune, but it's not on a different note. It just means you're singing slightly out of tune, or playing out of tune, sharp or flat. And it doesn't sound that pretty because you're not hitting the target pitch. But orchestras and even in bands sometimes we do this intentionally. We'll shade a key, say we're in the key of A flat. Bands usually tune on the dark side of things, so we're actually tuned slightly flat of the pitch to achieve a darker quality sound. And an orchestra, if they were playing it in G sharp, that'd actually be pretty rare. But G sharp, A flat, same note, right? Or they would actually tune slightly sharp to get a brighter sound. They would go for a brighter quality there. And that's something we'll get into later with keys. But just know that is out there where people do still differentiate. But for us and on the piano, these enharmonics, C sharp and D flat, like I was saying, A flat and G sharp, they are the same note for us. And so I think that's basically it. I tried to summarize Western tuning and the piano in one video. If there's any confusion, please let me know in the comments or send me a message. I'd love to get back to you. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and please share these videos. We want to get this basic music theory information from our Roger Scholar Community Service Project out to as many people as possible. And yeah, I hope y'all have a great day. Peace out. God bless. Thank you.